Hello, welcome to another YouTube Live. Here I am every Monday, and this is your chance to get some free coaching support if that's what you're interested in, and also ask all the questions related to NLP, emotions, anxiety, confidence, beliefs, all of that good stuff. And also numerology as well. That's something that I also cover. So today I wanted to talk about something that is very common in NLP and something that we use a lot. And it's all about how we can shift our emotional state and how we can do so in a way that's very quick and effective and easy. Now, there's a few things I want to mention because sometimes in the NLP world, I've been in this world for 11 years and I've seen a lot and I've experienced a lot, and there's still plenty more to learn and experience. Also, I don't know everything, though in those 11 years, I've certainly witnessed a lot of different ways that people use NLP techniques. Now, how I use NLP is slightly different compared to other people in terms of, NLP is used in many different ways. And some people use it to like goal setting and quick techniques to shift your state and feel different quickly and peak performance and become the best version of yourself. Some people use it in sales and marketing, and other people use it in really understanding the inner child and really getting to the core of why we do what we do and like what's behind certain emotions, what messages there are. That's a little bit more how I use it. And yes, there are some tools and techniques in NLP that can be very quick, very effective. And I've seen these quick changes happen in clients and also within myself and on trainings as well. And also, like when I first started with NLP, I was very new to the whole coaching world. And when I was practicing it on myself, I was like, wow, like it literally feels like magic sometimes. You use a tool or technique, and it's like, wow, like this is like magic that it really shifts things very quickly. It can happen. And also, that's not always the case. Sometimes NLP is marketed as this quick fix, and it's not about that. It's really about uncovering the truth of who you are and really getting to the core of that, like getting curious, like, who am I? Why do I do what I do? And also, we can use tools and techniques if we need to. Though, what I was noticing is that sometimes in the industry, and this is not just specific to NLP, this can be in the coaching world and the self development world, whenever there are certain tools and techniques that are useful and effective and that they work, often sometimes people can become reliant on that and then they start using that. It's almost like they use it as a crutch and they want to quickly run away from feeling, and they use a certain tool and technique to escape that feeling, and then it's almost like they want to jump straight away to like not feeling anything, like not wanting to deal with that anger, not wanting to deal with that sadness, not wanting to really feel it and express it and acknowledge it, and using a technique to avoid that. And this can create some issues because this is the thing with emotions. There's such a big connection with the emotions and the body, and it's very somatic. And when we're only looking at things within the mind and we're not acknowledging the body as well, and we're not acknowledging the somatics of things, and we're just running to quick techniques to shift something, then sometimes it's almost like we dissociate something, which in some instances can be helpful when there's an unhealthy stuckness there and someone really needs help, like dissociating. Though often there can be this tendency to want to like run to something to not feel. And this is the thing, like so many human beings, they're afraid of the humanness, afraid of feeling. And this is what I often mention with people who struggle with anxiety as well. That's my area of expertise, the anxiety. And it's almost like there's this underlying fear of being human, like feeling sadness, feeling anger, feeling whatever emotions are there, and expressing that. Maybe there are some, I mean, this was certainly my journey, and the journey that I'm still learning and growing and evolving on is really noticing like how much we suppress and how much we might people please, or how much we might do things according to obligations, or things that in an unhealthy way. Of course, we have responsibilities, though it's just noticing that, like at what level we do that, and not really acknowledging our own needs and our emotions. So there's one thing in NLP that is very common, very popular, and very useful, and this is called anchoring. And I wanted to talk about this today, and I wanted to talk about how we can use it, but in a way that we're still acknowledging how we're feeling, and the emotions that come up and the messages that they have, and not to bypass, not to run to this quick fix. It's all about how we use things. This is the thing, because sometimes people say, oh, NLP is manipulative because they see politicians use NLP. Yes, politicians use NLP. Or advertisers, they use NLP. I've seen all the hypnotic phrases being used over the years. I've seen all of that. And yes, it's like you can have a tool and people can use it in many different ways. And the important thing is the intention behind that and how it's being used, like the heart behind that. So for example, I can have a hammer and I can destroy a house. I can like smash the windows. I can break it down like brick by brick. Might take a while, but with a hammer. And but also I can construct a house with a hammer. I can build with a hammer. So it's all about the intention, like what my intention is with that. Is not about the hammer itself. So it's the same with NLP. It's not like, oh, this is the answer to absolutely everything, because maybe in some cases there are other methodologies and practices that might be more might resonate more with some people. And also it's like not the worst thing ever, because it can help, and it has helped so many people over the years, and certainly myself. Like I used to have weekly panic attacks, and NLP was one of the things that really helped with that. So it's all about how we see things, and it's all about the intention of how we use things. So if there are tools and techniques, whether that's NLP, hypnosis, EFT, like many different things, even like simple, like what's very popular now, trending at the moment, is all these different somatic experiencing practices and different somatic exercises that we can do. Even with that, sometimes people can rush to that before actually truly feeling, even though there is that feeling element of the somatic practices, but sometimes people rush to the regulation technique before actually just feeling it and being with it. And this is the same with anchoring as well, anchoring or collapsing anchors. So I'll explain a little bit more about what that is. So I just wanted to mention that first, that it's all about how we use techniques. That's the important thing. The intention behind things, that's the important thing. And it's really like, in order not to bypass, because we can shift our emotional state very quickly, easily and effectively. And it's important first to notice, like having that awareness. Okay, how do I feel? Like what, and this is a practice, because the vast majority of people are incredibly disconnected from their bodies and from their emotions, and not really aware of how they feel when it's in those little messages, those little whispers. And then suddenly it gets to a point where it's this loud scream, in the form of an anxiety attack or panic attack, or like a breakdown in some way, or like some health issue coming up, and it becomes a really extreme form, because we've been missing the whispers before. So yes, I mean, it's a big topic. There's many things on this, but I just wanted to mention that it's important just to notice that, have that awareness first and build up that practice. A current practice that I'm doing at the moment is I have, this is part of a new training that I'm doing at the moment. Me as a student, constantly learning. And one of the things that we're invited to do, and one of the things that I have implemented, is putting an alarm clock on my phone, and it goes off 5 times a day. And when that goes off, I stop, I check in with my body and just notice what I'm feeling. So this has been a great practice, because I haven't done this before in such a regular, consistent way. Like, I've been aware of what my body's been saying over the years, though having this regular check-in in those busy times, or those times where I'm rushing around and got many things to do, like I have that pause, that moment, and it's been a great practice. I've been learning a lot about myself and my body through that. So that's just one of the many ways to build up an awareness practice, but there are many ways. Just tuning in and taking a moment and just being with ourselves, like, okay, how do I feel? And like, if we notice a certain emotion coming up, it's like, okay, where is it in the body? And if it was to communicate, what would it communicate? That's the thing. Emotions are messengers. They're messengers. They are not random things that suddenly happen to us and that they just suddenly come out of nowhere, even though it can feel like that. You can feel like, oh, just suddenly there's anger or sadness or fear. But often there's this messenger, and there has been a thought pattern before that as well that contributes to how we feel. Those of you who have been watching my previous live classes where I've been talking about the mind-body wheel would have heard me talk about this. And so much of what we're thinking about has an influence on how we feel, like our emotional well-being, our emotional state. So if I'm thinking to myself, and this is what I call the inner critic hangover. So you might be familiar with alcohol hangovers, though there is another type of hangover that virtually every single person on this planet has experienced at some point in their life, if not on a regular basis. And that's what I call the inner critic hangover. And this is when we are really like talking to ourselves in a very negative way, and we have all of this negative self-talk and dialogue, and then suddenly our emotional state drops. So when our emotional state drops, that's an indication. This is an indication to give us an insight. It's like, okay, what have I just been talking about? What have I just been saying to myself? Have I been talking about myself in a negative way? Perhaps that's why I feel down, or perhaps that's why I feel low in confidence. We can ask ourselves these questions and just get really curious about what we've just been thinking about previously. So gentle, loving curiosity is key here. Gentle, loving curiosity, and having that awareness and just getting curious about what's currently present. What are we feeling? Like, if there's emotion, like, what is it telling us? What is anger communicating? What is fear communicating? What is sadness communicating? Now, every single person's different, though generally speaking, if anger pops up, there's some form of boundary that's been crossed, or you're not acknowledging your needs, you're not valuing yourself. So it's an opportunity to connect with self-worth and to set healthy boundaries. And if there's fear that pops up, that's an invitation to connect with courage. So often with fear, there's very much a focus on the past or the future rather than the present moment. Fear is often talking about like what if, like what might happen, or what fear about the past or what has happened. But often there's very much a future-based focus with that. So it's giving us an indication, like perhaps there are worries and fears about the future. And underneath that, we can get curious. Like one thing that I really love to do is, if I notice fear coming up with this worst case scenario, like you don't hear from someone, then you suddenly like, oh, are they okay? Like, I hope nothing's happened to them. And then your mind starts going into all these stories. And often what I would do is I would, rather than push it away, shove it away and try and ignore it, because that doesn't get rid of it. It just stays there. And it just builds up, builds up, builds up. The most important thing is to acknowledge it. So acknowledging it, and I would say to fear, I would say, oh, thank you, fear. Thank you for reminding me how valuable that person is to me, or how important that person is to me. Or thank you for protecting me. If it was talking about a worst case scenario, thank you for wanting to protect me. And bringing this gentle kindness and this loving energy to it completely transforms the experience of it. It's like intensity just fizzles out and it ceases to be this big thing. And that's like experiencing that, then you start to understand that emotions are simply energy in motion. Energy in motion. And when we just allow it to flow through, when we acknowledge it, when we get the message from it, it just becomes this wave that just flows through and then disappears, or ceases to be such a big issue. It's when we suppress it, is when we try to ignore it, is when we hide it, when we try to bypass it, or we rush to quick fixes, quick techniques to try and not feel it. That's when it becomes much bigger. That's when it becomes a lot more challenging. And sadness. So if I'm talking about those three big ones, so sadness, often there is this message of wanting, so it's like this invitation of connection, invitation that we can connect to something. And sadness, sometimes there's a message there about something that we've loved and lost, or something that we wanted and we didn't get. And we can just listen and get curious to the messages, like, okay, what is sadness telling me? What's the invitation here? So just that alone completely transforms our experience of emotions. And there are many other layers to this as well. If you want to dive in even deeper, in other lives I've talked about the beliefs about certain emotions. That's an important component as well. Though just that alone, like not acknowledging it and getting curious about what the message is, like why that emotion has come up, that can transform your experience of it. Though, if you find that you're still stuck in that emotion and there's still something there, and you're still like not quite able to shift that, then some form of constructive expression can help. So whatever that means for you, something that's constructive. So for example, that could be getting creative, because emotions are fuel for creativity. So getting creative, painting that anger out, or rather scribbling. Anger won't really be a nice detailed painting. It'll be more of a scribble, or sadness or fear or any other emotion, like painting it out or writing it or dancing it. That's one of my favorites, dancing emotions, because then you can really just like just discharge and move the body and allow that energy and motion to flow through you. So finding a constructive way to express. Perhaps that's seeking support. Perhaps that's having a conversation with a loved one, if there's something important to discuss. Whatever it is, finding some way that you can allow that to flow through you, rather than holding it all on. I've learned a lot since being someone who has been brought up with parents from two different cultures. My mother is from the Mediterranean and my father's from the UK, so very different ways of dealing with emotions. And I've learned a lot. And since living in Spain, being brought up in the UK, but then since living in Spain afterwards, I've then started to notice them, like how much I suppressed over the years, emotions, and also the importance of expression. And also, I've become a lot more expressive since being here. Like, I talk a lot more with my hands since living here. And when I go back to the UK, often I'm really surprised at how much people hide and suppress emotions. Now, obviously, this is a generalization. This is not everyone. Of course, there are many people in the UK that do express emotions. Though, in general, I have noticed in cultures that there can be this tendency, and often in the Mediterranean, it's very much more expressive, very passionate. People talk with their hands. there's a lot more expression there, and they get their emotions out. And sometimes you think they're having an argument, but they're not. They're just having a discussion. They're just having a conversation. And in the UK, everything is very like under the surface, very like shove everything down, don't talk about emotions, keep everything quiet. Now, for health and well-being, this is a big issue because the more we suppress things, the more we shove everything down, the more our body needs to do something with that energy emotion. So it will come out in some way. It will come out in the form of panic attacks or a health issue, depending on the person and what the intensity of the emotion is. For me, in the past, it was panic attacks. So it's important to have that awareness, like what the emotion is, where is that, like what's happening, where is it in your body, what do you feel, is there a message there, and find some creative way to express that, some constructive way to express that. And then if you still need something extra, there are ways, there are tools and techniques, and that's what I'm going to talk about now. So in NLP, we have anchoring, though I would recommend that you do those other things that I've mentioned already first. And then if you need an anchor, or then you need something to shift your emotional state, you can come to these tools and techniques. But don't fall into the trap of rushing to these tools and techniques before you've actually acknowledged the emotions. This is important. It's not about bypassing, not about bypassing. So anchoring, what is anchoring? So I won't go into it in a huge amount of detail here, though basically it's when there's this emotional response connected to a stimulus. So something is fired off, or you see something, you hear something, you feel something, and then emotional response is connected to that because of something you've experienced in the past, perhaps. And this is one way that we can collapse anchors, and we can use anchors to shift our emotional state. This is just one of the many things that we can do. So for example, when you, like, perhaps you have smelt a perfume or a type of food, or you've seen something, then suddenly you're transported back to a time in the past where you felt that uplifting energy, or you felt that like you remember this wonderful time when you're at a festival or a party or on holiday, and you remember all the feelings from that, and it comes back to you just through that initial anchor, that initial trigger. Now, this can be both in the positive and also the negative as well. So we can also like have the same, like we hear a song and it suddenly reminds you of the ex-partner, or like the relationship breakup, and then all the emotions come up again. So it can happen both ways. Now, we can use anchors in a great way to really create this habit of shifting our emotional state. So one really simple way, and there are many ways to do this, and I won't go into all the details of all the ways because then this talk will just be too long. Though I like one really simple way is using music. So that's one way that we can shift our emotional state. And then a particular song, if we have a particular song that we find uplifting, energizing, or soothing, calming, relaxing, if you repeat that and you use that many times, it's like that song becomes that anchor. And then when you listen to that song, that state will then come into you. So, for example, I struggled with falling asleep a while back. This was many years ago. And I wanted to really help myself to be able to relax and like fall asleep much easier in the evening time. And so I created this habit, and every single evening I would listen to this particular type of music that would just really help my body to wind down and fall asleep. And that music, there were a couple of songs, but like that became an anchor. So every time I heard that music, my body was like, oh, okay, yeah, time to sleep. Now, a funny story, I went for a massage once. And guess what music they were playing? They were playing that music. So what did I do? I fell asleep. So this is how powerful it can be. Now, this is just one example, and ideally, we don't want to be reliant on external devices or things. Like the best way, really, to shift our state is from us doing things ourselves. So, remembering a memory. This is something you can do anytime, anywhere. We have this almost like this archive within. We have in our brain, we have this archive of all these experiences that we've had. And the mind often has a tendency to focus on the negative experiences, like things that we found challenging. Though, what if we use our mind in a way that we start focusing on all those wonderful experiences that we've had? So let's try it now. Let's try it let's create a little resource anchor, as we say in NLP. So, and obviously doing this generally over YouTube Live is the most effective way would be if I could actually see you going in and out of that emotional state. And obviously I can't see who's listening and who's watching, so I won't be able to see that. So I'll just give you an example of the script, and then you can practice yourself according to your own needs. So think back to a time when you felt really calm and relaxed. Perhaps there was this memory, this time where you felt really calm and relaxed. Just notice where you were, like see what you see, hear what you hear, and really feel that sensation, that calming sensation flow all through your body as you notice that memory. Noticing that and really feeling that all the way from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, that calm relaxation. And perhaps this relaxation, this feeling has a color. And just notice that color flowing all through your body and moving all the way down your arm, your right arm, into your right hand. And you can just capture hold of that color right now. And then letting that go, coming back to the room and really noticing your surroundings, noticing what's around you. Perhaps you can count 5 things in your room, in your environment, or wherever you are. And then test it. Just think of that color, capture the hold of that color in your hand, and notice what shifts within your physiology, within your emotional state. Now, obviously, this is just a very, very quick example. And obviously, as I said before, if I was able to see how you go in and out of that, I would be able to make it more personalized according to you, though this is just one really simple way that we can bring in emotional states and anchor those in. And we have this anchor when we imagine that color, and we capture hold of that. And then often what happens is that when we test that out, we'll notice our physiology responding. It's almost like there will be this shift in how we breathe, or our posture will adjust slightly. And sometimes it can be really like impactful if it was a really strong memory. And yeah, that's just one of the many ways. Of course, there are many other ways that we can shift our emotional state. So adjusting our body posture, like going back to that directly rather than using a memory, and really noticing, okay, so if I want to feel more, we talk about body posture quite a lot in NLP. If we want to feel more energized and uplifted, we're not going to just slump in the chair. We're going to pull the shoulders back and sit more upright, for example. So if we're noticing that we're feeling a particular emotion, like if that's anger or sadness or fear, like just notice what's happening within your body. Notice the message, what it's communicating. Find a creative, constructive way to express that. And then if you still need to make changes, you can you can shift your state. Shift your state using a memory, use like adjusting your body posture, moving your body. Though often what you may notice is that just by acknowledging the emotion, just by feeling it and expressing it, you don't need any other techniques. And this is an NLP trainer telling you this. Though if you do need some extra techniques, sometimes that can be an indication that there's still something there to express. Or if you just need something as like an extra top up, or perhaps what can be really useful, like before you go into a meeting, before you go into an exam, that you shift your emotional state a little bit. So before I do classes, often I listen to music, and I have that music to feel more uplifted and energized, and then I can bring the best class that I can do to you and offer you this. Just come from a much better place than being here and just like being really tired, and that wouldn't help. So if you have any questions, just let me know, pop it in the comments section. And yeah, there's many different ways that we can shift our emotional state and really make little changes, like as I was saying, like movement, like finding a way to move the body, like walk outdoors, go for a walk, run if you like running, dance if you like dancing, or some group sport, or like even if it's tennis, like do something to move the body. Like motion is emotion, as the famous phrase goes. So when we move the body, we shift the emotional state. So this is one of the easiest and effective ways to shift emotional state. And the important thing is to first feel it, first communicate with it, and then express it. And then you can use these techniques. So I will leave it there. If you have any other questions, just let me know. You can pop it in the comments section. I read all the comments, so even after these lives, that this is a great opportunity to really get these have this opportunity to get some free coaching support. Every week there's been different people joining, and people have been asking questions, and this is a great way, because not everyone can afford one-on-one sessions with me. And in one-on-one sessions, we can go into it in much more depth and obviously create like a real change for you. though not everyone can afford that right now. So this is your opportunity. I offer this weekly space where you can tune in, ask some questions, get some quick tips, useful things that can help you to start creating some change in whatever area that is that you need change in. So coming up, before I sign off, there's a few events coming up. So we have on the 21st of March, I have a women's circle, and this women's circle is in Barcelona in Artemis. It's a women's health center. And this is a monthly women's circle that I've been doing for probably about 10 months already. And every month we have a different topic. And it's just such a wonderful evening of connecting and learning and growing and sharing and supporting each other. And there's something really special about gathering in community, whether that's mixed circles or women's circles. In this case, it's women's circles. And it's so wonderful that we can talk about topics specific to women and have this wonderful safe place where we can connect and we can really learn from each other and realize that every single woman, like we're all mirrors for each other, and we've all been through such similar experiences, and it's just such a wonderful thing. So these women's circles, we start at 6:30, and there's many different, every month there's a different topic. The topic for this month is all about jealousy, is about sisterhood, and it's about friendship. So this is quite an interesting topic. We've had other topics in the past, like body image, and like we've talked about like our relationship with the masculine, the feminine, like with men. We talked about motherhood. We've talked about many different topics. And this particular topic of jealousy and sisterhood and friendship is something that I feel that is not talked about enough. And it's really important. It's a topic that's really important because often there's a lot of shame around jealousy, and shame and criticism, and people don't really embrace it or acknowledge it. Obviously, embrace it. Like we don't want to just remain stuck in it. What I'm talking about is acknowledging it and finding the gifts in it, because there are gifts in jealousy. There's gifts in every single emotion. So we're going to be talking about this on the 21st. So if you want to join us, if you're a woman, then this is in Barcelona, and it's €15 when you reserve in advance. So you can just send me a WhatsApp +34 6226 986 73. And if you're not a woman and you're looking for support, there's one-on-one sessions available, and I do many other events and also these classes every week. So there's something for everyone. So that's on the 21st. And then on the day after, so it'll be a full week for me, the day after, 22nd of March, then in Vilanova i Geltrú, which is a short train ride from Barcelona, I have an in-person dance class. And this is called Danza Alma, or Danza Libre del Alma. And it's really talking about connecting to that core essence within. And what I do is I blend numerology with dance. And this is something fairly unique that I haven't seen many people do, is blending dance with numerology and dancing the different messages and the different dances of each number, because every number has its own message, its own gift, and it's a completely other experience to dance it rather than just talk about it or know about it intellectually. So numerology, this is an ancient practice. This is not something I've made up. This is by Pythagoras. You might have heard of Pythagoras. Most people have. At school, we were not taught about much of his work in terms of numerology, though that was a huge part of his work, and this is what it's based on. there are many different types of numerology, but I use the type of Pythagoras. And him and his students, like, created this framework, and this is what we call numerology, in like one of the most common forms of numerology. And it's just so fascinating. It's like, wow, like dancing the energy of number 1 or dancing the energy of number 5, and they're completely different, and we get a full embodied experience of that, really feeling it in the body. It's really wonderful. So that's on the 22nd. It's a Friday evening at 7 in the evening, and this is €10. So if you want to join, then just send me a WhatsApp as the number I said before. So +34 6226 98673. And if you want personalized support, one-on-one sessions continue online and in person in Barcelona. And these sessions they're really a wonderful foundation for you to feel empowered and to really have all of the tools and the techniques that you can then move forward in your life and create changes for yourself. So I'm really big on empowering clients. Like, I don't want clients to be dependent on me forever. I don't want that. I want clients to like learn all the tools, and then they've got it, and then they don't need to come back. I mean, obviously, like, if I was just only focused on the money, I would do the opposite, but I'm not. I want clients to be empowered, to be able to make the changes and to move forward in life, and just to feel like, okay, yeah, I've got this toolkit and I'm going to keep moving forward and I can make changes. So this is what I do in the sessions, and I have a big focus on anxiety and confidence because this is my area of expertise. I've worked with clients for 11 years plus years and a big focus on anxiety, like whether that's anxiety around eating, that's a big one, like eating out of anxiety about social situations, anxiety about like just having general anxiety attacks or panic attacks, or like big bouts of fear that come up. Like there's many different ways it can be expressed, and this is something that I have a lot of experience with, and I have helped many people with as well, how to reduce that. And looking at all of the different skills that I blend, the numerology, the NLP, and the embodiment, all of that together creates this very unique experience where we look at all these different levels. It's not just one level. It's not just looking at the mind. It's also looking at the emotions. And it's not just looking at the emotions, it's also looking at the body. And it's not just looking at the body, it's also looking at the soul, what the soul has to communicate as well through numerology. So there's all these different levels there. Like, we're talking about mind, emotions, body, and soul. And when you combine all of that, now that's a powerful combination. It's not just one level. So this is what I do in the one-on-one sessions, and it's a great opportunity to really reduce anxiety, come back to calm, feel more confident in yourself, and to really step into your authenticity as much as possible. So if you want more information, again, just send me a WhatsApp, +34 6226 98673. So I will leave it there. Again, like, just pop any comments or questions in the comment section, and I will get back to you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being you. And I will be back again next week at 7 in the evening. Much love.